Just as I was thinking that I would be able to spend some relaxing time for the first time in a while, my sister, Ava, showed up, unannounced. It was still early for dinner time. I could sense a subtle peculiarity in her mood. "I have something important to tell you, Melissa," she announced carefree. I thought she was going to ask me to buy her expensive cosmetics and brand name accessories again. "My name is Melissa. I work for an ad agency. My father was a civil servant, and I grew up in a relatively well-off family. My mother favored and spoiled my little sister, Ava, who was 5 years younger than me. She had beautiful, deep blue eyes and a small button nose, and was good at taking advantage of others. She was more spoiled than she should have been. She became a child who begged for one expensive thing after another and got bored as soon as she got them. Even as a child, I knew that I was plain and had no particular talent, so I studied hard to get my parents' attention. But even though I got good scores on tests, they never really acknowledged me, and I often felt lonely. I always kept excellent grades, which led me to secure an offer from one of the top ad agencies after my graduation. I got married to my coworker, Liam, and started a new chapter of my life 2 years ago. On the other hand, Ava, who was not interested in studying, started attending a no-name college. She had an amazing body and always dressed stylishly, so she must have gotten a lot of attention from her fellow male students. She was always being pampered by a group of them. I often heard that she received surprisingly expensive gifts. When I sometimes saw her at my parents' house, she proudly showed me pictures of her handsome boyfriends and bragged me about him non-stop. Her boyfriend changed every time I saw her, so I was a little concerned about the string of short-term relationships. I told myself that it must have been like a game for her, as she had no shortage of men. At one point, she suddenly and somewhat forcibly started coming over for dinner at my house. She must have realized that Liam and I lived relatively close to her college. She lived alone in a beautiful but expensive apartment after begging our parents to let her stay there. I knew she never cooked, as it damaged her nails. I had been invited to her place a few times, just so that she could show off her comfortable lifestyle. I looked in the kitchen and saw almost no food or cooking utensils at the time. Since she was like that, she must have missed home cooking. Besides, she seemed to be happy to save some money on food. In fact, she never mentioned chipping in, let alone acting humble about it. Although Liam and I didn't have kids, we were both busy working every day. Unconcerned, she always showed up without notice, so I felt uneasy at home. I was a little annoyed and confided in Liam about it. "Let her be. She's your sister. Take it easy on her. Besides, I'm happy to see her." He hardly ever helps me with the chores, so he must have thought cooking and cleaning weren't such big deals. It was partly my fault for taking all the housework, making them my responsibility after he showed reluctance at the beginning of our marriage. I managed my frustration thinking that way. I normally listened to my favorite music at high volume and got rid of my annoyance. One Saturday afternoon, I thought I'll be able to relax for the first time in a while, and I was happily thinking about what I was going to do. And then Ava, as usual, suddenly showed up. It was still early for dinner time, and the sun was shining outside. I could sense a subtle peculiarity in her mood. "I have something important to tell you, Melissa," she announced carefree. I thought she was going to ask me to buy her expensive cosmetics and brand name accessories again. "You know, I'm actually dating Liam." I was so baffled that I just stared at her with wide eyes at first. Dating my husband? What are you talking about? You know, we're going out, like lovers. You're kidding, right? Since when? I'm not sure. Liam came to her side from lounging around in the living room. Yeah, we're together. So, let's break up. What do you mean by break up? You mean a divorce? Please, I beg you too. If you resist, I'll be in trouble. I'm going to have a baby. What? You can't be serious. Yes, I'm pregnant. She was not only having an affair with Liam, asking me to leave him because she was having a baby. The two of them leaned in close to each other and looked at me with a smile on their faces. It was getting too surreal for me to keep up, but it didn't even end there. I think we have to prepare a good environment for the new baby. Don't you agree, Melissa? I thought I would no longer be surprised to hear anything. I wondered what she had to say next and turned my vacant eyes toward her. I happened to see this ad. Look, isn't it a nice condo? I'm proud of you for spotting such a nice place. Actually, we'd already had a look at it. It's spacious, clean, and convenient. It's a perfect condo for us. And what does it have to do with me? Oh my God, you're so dull, you know. You've been with Liam for 2 years, but you couldn't get pregnant. He told me he felt disappointed and hurt. We are going to have a baby. You should be happy for us. Are you saying it's my fault that I didn't get pregnant? Not really. Look, Melissa, you have a better position in the company and make more money than I do. Can you help us for the sake of your future niece or nephew? I don't have enough money for the down payment at the moment. I'll pay you back, okay? Liam had never been able to save any money since he was a bachelor. He put on a good face to everyone around him and spent it too quickly. He often bought designers brand wallets and clothes but never used them. When we were dating, we always split the cost. He sometimes forgot his wallet or didn't have much money on him, and I often paid for him. I was also paying more into our living expenses in our marriage. Still, I loved him and had no complaints. Please, Melissa, I asked our parents, but, you know, they kind of turned me down. Isn't that awful? The two of them took turns asking me to fulfill their selfish desires. I was at a loss for words at their ridiculous demand. While having an affair behind my back, they had an unplanned pregnancy. I was suddenly confronted with a divorce and asked to help them buy a condo. It was just insane. Looking back, I had to deal with Ava's overly selfish demands for a long time. When we were little, she took my favorite dolls and made me cry. After I started working, she begged me many times to buy her things. Those were different scales compared to unforgivable affair and a ludicrous condo. My love for Liam, as well as Ava, just disappeared. I couldn't bear this hurtful reality. Soon after, I left the house and moved into an apartment alone. Strangely enough, I was relieved. It was like being a single again. Melissa. I heard a soft voice and turned around. It was Beth, my senior at work, whom I had been waiting for. Sorry, I couldn't finish my paperwork. No worries. I'm the one who asked you to meet me when you are busy. That's all right. Let's order something, shall we? Beth, with the menu in her hand, ordered efficiently. I was troubled by Ava and Liam, so I wanted to ask her for advice. That must have been hard for you. She listened to my story as if it were her own. I almost burst into tears, but managed to tell her everything. I hadn't had much of an appetite the past few days, but she gently urged me to taste the food, and I took her advice. So good, right? The decor is so-so, but the food is exceptional here. After chatting for a while, Beb suddenly turned serious and asked me, "So, what are you going to do?" "Liam and I can't go back to the way we were, so I guess we are getting a divorce." "I see. If my boyfriend cheated on me, I would end it too, no matter how much I love him. If it was a one-night stand with a call girl or something, maybe I would give it another chance. But she's my sister and still a student." Beth was genial and continued to listen to me afterward. On my way back to my apartment, I noticed several messages on my phone. They were from Liam. He wanted to proceed with divorce as soon as possible for the sake of formality, and also asked me to consider the cost of the condo. They were all one-sided messages. From the way he wrote, he still thought I was a free housekeeper or a convenient cash machine. How much did he need to degrade me? I was sure that I was completely over him then. I decided to visit an attorney the next day, and a short time later, the divorce papers were filed. I had already hired a professional investigator and had him take photos and videos of Liam and Ava together. I had concrete evidence. I also had a recording on my phone when they made insane demands. It was somewhat ironic that I was able to save on the cost of the investigation because of the recording. Of course, I asked for a hefty alimony from Liam. When he found out the amount, he must have felt like his life was sucked out of him. He and Ava waited for me in the lobby of my workplace one day. The two of them came up to me like bulls running toward a matador. I expected this scenario, knowing how shameless they were. I took a deep breath, faced them, and told them in an unwavering voice, "Of course, you will pay me alimony. Ava, you are an adult now, and this is a good lesson for you to learn." "No, we can't pay you. You're a terrible sister. Why are you doing this?" She pleaded with moistened, puffy eyes. I had seen this signature strategy of hers many times before. I, of course, didn't fall for it. "By the way, I've already told our big boss about your infidelity and our divorce as well." "No, you better be joking. Him? Of all people?" "Aside from you, I'm in a higher position. He doesn't want my performance to be affected." "What the hell? You think I'm an idiot?" "I'm just telling you what our boss told me to tell you. I thought he expected a little more from you. So it was a bit surprising and sad. You know, the chairman of our company is actually a distant relative of mine." "What? I didn't know that. You never said a word about it." Liam's face suddenly turned pale with the word chairman. He was even starting to break out in a cold sweat. "I've told you several times before. Since we got married, you've been mostly absent-minded when I talk to you." "But that's still terrible. We were married all this time." "That's my line." "It doesn't matter now that we are in the middle of a divorce. You guys asked me for it anyway." "That's true, but of course, Ava is also responsible for what happened." "Aren't you ashamed of yourself for having an affair with a college student and getting her pregnant?" "And you asked me to buy a condo for you. Do you think someone who can't follow the rules of the society and has no morals is in the position to ask for such a thing? I strongly disagree." "Whatever. I just wanted to borrow a bit." Didn't you send me the amount via email? I don't think it was just a bit." "Ugh. Anyway, It's not your call to decide what happens to my work. No, it's rather my boss's decision. I haven't told you since it hasn't been decided yet, but I've been approached about an HR position a while ago. By your boss? Do you mean Beth? Oh no, baby. If you're in trouble at work, what are you going to do from now on? What about our condo? Help us, Melissa. The two seemed to be in complete panic. They begged me in a frenzy to restore his reputation with the bosses. The co-workers who were passing by glanced at us. I told them to go through my lawyers and left the place. Soon after, the two were spotted by security and taken away for questioning. They tried to call me numerous times, but I never picked up the calls. I also received several texts from them, but none of them resonated with me. Later, Liam received a stern warning not only about the affair, but also about making a scene on the company premises from the chairman, and was utterly dispirited. He had a lot of pride, so it must have mortified him greatly. Not long after that, he was transferred to a regional branch, and Ava reluctantly followed him. Her being a city girl at heart, she wasn't able to handle the close community mindset and very few options for work. She was quite distressed and frustrated that she blamed Liam, and they fought all the time. As for him, he felt uncomfortable when he was at home because she never attended to any housework. He often emailed me complaining about her. She got addicted to online shopping to relieve stress, which led to serious financial trouble. He eventually had to borrow money to pay off her debts and was totally worn out with the loan payment. As a result, they broke up after 6 months. Ava, a single mother with a newborn baby, went right back to her old way and had a string of men in her life. However, they were all players just like her, who only cared about themselves and cheated on her or swindled money out of her. It eventually led her to distrust men, even though she used to be such a serial dater. She needed money and cried to her parents to let her and her baby move in with them. She seemed to be living a slightly better life under their strict eyes. Our mother changed her attitude toward Ava after all and asked her to pay a share of their living expenses. I was a little surprised to hear that she actually got a part-time job. Meanwhile, I'm excited to be asked to go on a business trip abroad for the first time. I'm accompanying Beth as her assistant, so we are currently busy preparing for the trip. Hey, Melissa? That guy is here again. Beth signals with her eyes in a hushed voice. Who? Oh, Mark. Yeah, he's been showing up every day these days. Mark works in a different department and has a reputation for being good-natured and funny. He's looking around the office, but when he notices us, he comes right over with a big smile. He's seeking our opinions on a business matter, so we moved to a conference room to discuss it in private. Oh, I remember I have something urgent to do. Sorry guys, I'll be back. Beth leaves the room in the middle of the meeting, and the two of us fall silent for a few moments. Shall we have a break? Mark goes out to get drinks and hands one to me. Later on, Beth traps me and asks me a lot of questions. My hunch is that he has a thing for you. Really? You think so? Yeah, we used to be in the same department. He's very good at his job and is a sincere person. What do you think about him? I know he's a prominent staff, but I don't know. I can only say he's a nice guy. Oh yeah? I think he's good for you. You guys emit a bright aura when you're together. Hey, you're making me too conscious. Maybe I'll ask him out to dinner when I get back from the business trip. I'm beginning to plan my future.